Hey, my name's Kyle. This is Theology Definitions, and today we're talking about worship.
Keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
No idea what you said.
What's that supposed to mean?
What does that mean, child?
Does that mean something to you?
I know what this means.
What does it mean?
Okay, so what does this mean?
There tends to be this persistent idea that worship is something confined to the religious experience. And in this instance, worship is narrowly defined as some kind of acknowledgement of a deity or a superhuman being. But in truth, worship is a much bigger concept. The English word worship comes from the archaic English worthship, which, as it sounds, talks about something's worth. Another way to think about worship is to think about what we do that shows what we ultimately value. And again, there's this idea that many people ultimately value money, but I think that the number of people who ultimately value money, who actually worship money, is exceedingly small. Don't get me wrong, many people value money, but worship is when we give up something we value to gain something we value even more. So for most of us, money isn't our ultimate value. There are many of us who use our money to gain pleasure, a week in Oahu or seeing the masterpieces of Europe in person. Others of us use money to purchase status symbols and to try to keep up with the Joneses. Others value relationships, and our money is used to benefit those close to us. And for those of us who have a hard time even making a withdrawal from our bank account, it isn't usually the money we worship, but the security and control of knowing that we have resources in case of a rainy day. And this is the understanding of worship that author David Foster Wallace had in mind when he told the graduating class of Kenyon College, in the day-to-day trenches of adult life, there's actually no such thing as atheism. There is no such thing as not worshiping. Everybody worships. The only choice we get is what to worship. Everyone worships. It's impossible not to value something more highly than you value everything else. It's impossible not to spend our energy and our effort trying to obtain something. But the question is, what is that something? Okay, at this point you might be saying, all right, I understand. Worship is about what we value most, and that's shown by what it is we're trying to get when we give up something that we value, what it is that we value above everything else. But in the Bible, isn't worship about praying and sacrificing and other religious things? Well, is it? I don't think you really have a good case there. The Bible is full of instances where God's people were doing all the right religious things, but they didn't actually value God. And what was God's response? He wasn't pleased. I despise your religious feasts. I cannot stand your religious assemblies. Even though you bring me burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them. Though you bring choice fellowship offerings, I will have no regard for them. Away with the noise of your songs. I will not listen to the music of your harps, but let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream. Or consider Jesus' words to the Pharisees. You search the scriptures daily because you think that in them you might have eternal life, and it is they that bear witness about me, yet you refuse to come to me so that you may have life. What is Jesus saying? He's saying that some people use the Bible to come up with a list of rules and worship, but that's not the purpose of the Bible. The Bible points to Jesus. It was written to reveal Jesus to us. But the Bible does drive us into worship. See, as God's nature is revealed, we're supposed to be drawn more into Him and into worship of Him. Now, if you aren't a Christian, or if you're just checking out this Jesus thing, maybe that's one of the things that annoys you. I mean, I hear this all the time. How can God be such an egomaniac to demand that we have to worship Him? But what if we're looking at it wrong? I mean, think about it this way. Beauty demands worship. Have you ever laughed so hard you snorted milk out of your nose or slapped your knee or did something else? Was that a planned reaction? Probably not. It was just you were driven to laughter by the humor. Or think about beauty in nature. Have you ever seen anything, a sunrise, a waterfall, a panoramic view that just caused you to stare with your mouth open? I grew up in northern Alberta, and the winters are long and they're bleak for the most part. But there's a certain beauty in that. There's so much untouched land that you could see whole fields of crisp, fresh snow. And then there's the Northern Lights. Have you ever seen the Northern Lights? Well, we get them a lot up there, and they're always more vibrant in the winter. Usually it's just the blue and the green, but on good nights you can see the lighter colors, the red, the yellow, the orange, and they dance and they wave. And if they're really strong, you can hear them whistle. And if conditions are perfect, the snow reflects them, and everywhere you look is dancing with color. And I have one vivid memory of a night like that. We were driving back to our town after swimming at a larger neighboring community, and we were in the middle of nowhere. No electric lights to block out the sky, nothing that you could see, no man-made buildings, just the highway. And we could see the aurora dancing above us through the windows of the van. And eventually my dad couldn't even focus on driving, and he pulled over, and we all got out of the van and laid on the snow or on top of the van and watched the night sky dance. And it was probably minus 20, 25 degrees Celsius. Our hair was wet from the pool. We were going to get sick, but we didn't care. Why? Because it was beautiful. We just had to watch it. Aurora Borealis demanded our worship, demanded our attention, and we were happy to oblige. In the same way, God demands our worship. Not primarily because of his power and his authority like a dictator does, but because of his love and his beauty.